Okay, so you're thinking about a career in data centers, huh?
Who isn't these days, right? It's like where the
Yeah.
digital world gets down to business.
Exactly. We've got all this cool stuff here from RoleCatcher.com about what it takes to be a data center operator. And
Yeah, it's way more than just, the blinking lights and servers
I
and
was going to say, I always pictured like endless rows of servers and someone in a hazmat suit walking around.
right, but it turns out it's a lot more dynamic than that. This
Mm.
role catcher guide was eye-opening, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, these are the folks who keep businesses online, right?
Absolutely. It's mission critical stuff. When systems go down, the pressure is on.
And the guy didn't shy away from that. Sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, they were upfront about the pros and cons. High demand, good salaries, but
But also a demanding work environment, long hours, on-call shifts, that kind of thing.
exactly. It's not for the faint of heart, but then again, what rewarding tech job is, right?
Here, true.
Yep.
So, okay, what does the typical day even look like for a data center operator? Is it all crisis management?
Well, the guides kind of described it as structured chaos. You're monitoring systems, checking for anomalies, optimizing performance, like preventative care for the digital world.
I like that. Preventative care.
Yeah. And then, of course, those inevitable alerts pop up and things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded server on fire alert. Then what?
Then it's detective time. Data center operators have to isolate the problem, troubleshoot it, and get things back up and running as fast as humanly possible.
So they're like the guardians of uptime, making sure websites load, apps run smoothly.
Exactly. They're the unsung heroes of the internet, keeping the data flowing 204/7. And you wouldn't believe what can cause problems. We're talking software glitches, hardware failures, even something as simple as a trip circuit breaker.
Wow, it's like a high-stakes game of digital Jenga. One wrong move and the whole thing collapses.
Kind of, yeah. But that's also what makes it exciting. There's never a dull moment.
Speaking of exciting, the guide also mentioned that there's a whole career ladder within the data center world. You don't just stay a data center operator forever, right?
Right. That's one of the cool things about this field. Lots of room for growth. You can specialize in cybersecurity, climb the ranks to management. You
I
can.
mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Once you've got that foundation of knowledge, you could branch out into so many areas.
Exactly. Let's say you start as a data center operator. You're getting hands-on experience with all sorts of technologies. From there, you could become a subject matter expert in cloud computing or virtualization.
Okay, hold on. Virtualization. I'm not going to pretend I know what that is.
Oh, sure.
You break that down for us, and while you're at it, explain what these cloud platforms are that everyone's always talking about.
You got it. So, virtualization, think of it like this. You take one physical server, and through the magic of software, you turn it into multiple virtual servers.
Oh, okay. So it's about maximizing resources, making one server do the work of many.
Exactly. It's all about efficiency.
Hmm.
And where do these virtual servers live? In the cloud, of course.
The cloud. It's a mysterious term.
It's basically a network of data centers that provide on-demand computing resources. Companies like AWS and Azure, they're like the landlords of the cloud, renting out server space and computing power to businesses that need it.
Oh, okay. So instead of owning and maintaining their own expensive servers, businesses can just rent space in the cloud.
Precisely. And guess who keeps those cloud platforms running smoothly? Our friends, the data center operators.
Ah, so they're not just managing physical servers anymore, they're managing these virtual servers in the cloud too.
Yep, they're responsible for the physical infrastructure, the network connectivity, the security of all that data stored in the cloud. It's a big job.
I bet. So it's like they're managing a digital apartment building, making sure all the tenants have power, internet, and secure doors.
That's a great analogy. And just like a landlord needs to stay on top of maintenance and upgrades, so does a data center operator. They need to be constantly learning about new technologies, security protocols, best practices, the whole nine yards.
So this isn't a job for someone who's afraid of a little hard work or learning something new.
You got it. This field is all about adapting and evolving. And the Role Catcher Guide really drove that point home in its Getting Started section.
Oh yeah, what do they recommend? College degrees, certifications?
All the usual suspects, but they also had this really interesting suggestion: building your own mini data center at home.
Wait, what? Like a data center in your basement? Is that even possible?
Apparently. Of course, it's not going to be on the scale of Google's data centers.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
But the idea is to understand the fundamental components, the servers, the networking equipment, the cooling systems.
So it's about Getting hands-on experience, seeing how it all works together in a smaller, more manageable setting.
Exactly. And it's a great way to impress potential employers. Imagine walking into an interview and casually mentioning, oh, by the way, I've got a mini data center running in my basement.
Talk about a conversation starter. Okay, so you've piqued my curiosity. How does one even go about building a mini data center at home?
Well, think of it like this. You can buy a basic server rack online, a couple of used servers, some networking gear, and boom, you've got the foundation.
It's like a giant, more technical Lego set.
Exactly. And there are tons of online resources, tutorials, communities to help you along the way. The RoleCatcher guide even linked to a few.
Perfect. So not only do you learn the technical stuff, but you also get that hands-on experience figuring out power management, cooling systems.
Right. It's all those little details that make a big difference in a real data center.
Plus, like you said, it's a killer resume builder. Okay, but let's say you've built your mini data center, you're ready to apply for some jobs. The guide mentioned that AI is playing a bigger role in the hiring process these days. How so?
Well, a lot of companies are now using AI tools to screen resumes, even do those initial screening interviews.
Wow, so you might have to impress a bot before you even get to a human.
Pretty much. It's all about efficiency, helping recruiters quickly sift through mountains of applications.
So how do you beat the bots? Any tips from the guide?
They actually had a whole section on it. It boils down to understanding how these AI systems think.
Okay, enlighten us. AI Thinking 101.
Basically, they're looking for specific keywords and phrases that match the job description. So tailoring your resume to each application is more important than ever.
So no more generic resumes, huh? Each one needs to be carefully crafted for the AI overlords.
Think of it as speaking their language. You've got to highlight those relevant skills, use industry jargon, make sure your experience aligns with what they're programmed to look for.
It's like digital hide and seek, making sure your resume is the easiest one to find.
Exactly. And once you've mastered the art of the AI resume,
Assuming we make it past the bots.
right, then you've got to face a real live human interviewer.
Done, done, done. The final boss. So what's the key to acing that conversation? Any nuggets of wisdom from the guide?
The same rules apply. Research the company, know their data center setup, be ready to talk about how your experience fits their needs, but you've got to go beyond just reciting your resume.
Okay, so what? Personality, sense of humor, juggling skills.
Well, those might help,
Right.
but seriously, they're looking for problem solving, communication skills, a passion for tech, that fire in your belly.
So you've got to convince them you're not just a robot yourself. You've got to have that human touch, that spark, especially when things go haywire and those servers start acting up.
Speaking of the future, the guide mentioned some pretty big changes happening in the data center world. Like, what's the deal with edge computing?
Oh yeah, edge computing is a game changer. It's all about bringing data processing closer to the source of the data, which is huge for things like self-driving cars, online gaming, telemedicine. Okay, so instead of sending data all the way to some massive data center, you're processing it right there at the edge, closer to the user.
Exactly. Which means lower latency, faster response times, all those things that make our tech-driven world go around.
And this edge computing thing, how's it impacting data center operators?
It's shaking things up, that's for sure. Instead of managing a few big centralized data centers, they might be dealing with dozens, even hundreds, of smaller, more distributed edge data centers.
Wow, so it's like the data center landscape is becoming more, well, spread out, more complex.
Exactly, and that requires a whole new set of skills and expertise. Data center operators need to be comfortable with edge computing architecture, managing distributed systems, working with a wider range of tech.
So it's a challenge, but it also sounds kind of, well, exciting, right?
Oh, absolutely. This field is all about adapting, evolving. It's never boring, that's for sure.
It's like the Wild West out there, with server farms instead of saloons.
And just as wild, the pace of change is incredible. That's why the RoleCatcher guide was so big on continuous learning for data center operators.
Right, so you can't just rest on your laurels in this field. What are some of those futuristic skills that you think will be essential down the road?
Well, we've talked about edge computing, but that's really just the beginning. AI and machine learning are going to be huge, absolutely huge, in shaping the future of data centers.
Makes sense. If you're managing all these distributed edge data centers, you'd need some serious automation and AI to keep up.
Exactly. Imagine AI-powered systems that monitor performance, anticipate problems before they even happen, even optimize things like cooling and power usage.
So we're talking about data center operators who also need to be AI whisperers. And what about the cybersecurity front? That seems like a never-ending battle.
Oh, absolutely. It's more crucial than ever, especially as data centers get more complex and interconnected. Data center operators need to be experts in threat detection, firewalls, intrusion detection, encryption. They're guarding some of the most valuable assets out there, data.
No pressure, right? So we've got the tech skills down. Edge computing, AI, cybersecurity. But what about those good old-fashioned people skills? Are they still relevant in this world of automated data centers?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd argue they're becoming even more important as more tasks become automated.
How so?
Well, because when things go really wrong, when you've got a major outage that those automated systems can't handle, you need humans.
Right, you need people who can think critically, communicate clearly, and work together under pressure.
Exactly. No AI can replace good old-fashioned human ingenuity and teamwork when it comes to solving those really complex problems.
It's like a high-stakes game of digital detective work, and you need those sharp human minds to crack the case.
That's a great way to put it. And let's not forget about adaptability, the ability to learn new things quickly. The tech world changes so fast. Data center operators need to be lifelong learners, always ready for the next big thing.
Because the only constant is change,
Right.
right? Especially in tech. So if we had to distill everything we learned today into one key takeaway for our listeners, what would it be? What's the one thing someone considering a career as a data center operator should know?
Data centers are the heart of the digital world, and it's an incredibly exciting, challenging, and rewarding career path for anyone passionate about technology.
And it's a career that's only going to become more important as our reliance on data grows.
Exactly. If you're fascinated by tech, if you love to learn and solve problems, the world of data centers is waiting.
On that note, a huge thank you to our expert for this incredible deep dive into the world of data center operators.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the world of tech. Until then, keep those servers humming.